You guys, you're not. I mean, this is a dream because I'm in person again. I am in person and not at my Zoom at my desk with my Cheez-Its on one side and my coffee on the other. I'm actually in a studio coming to you from Caster Studios in Hollywood. It's In Between the Pages with James Lott Jr. Who am I? James Lott Jr., of course. And I have a return guest, but I thought this guest deserves to be in person. And I'm so glad he's here with me. So I'm going to give you a kind of Cliff Notes version because he has a long resume and bio. But we'll give you a Cliff Notes version. This person celebrated a milestone birthday, and somehow he's still younger than me. I don't understand what that's all about. And he has degrees. Yeah, he has degrees. He's smart. He has degrees and everything. But one of the reasons why I like him because he's a poet. He's a writer. And notably, he was appointed in West Hollywood their first poet laureate. Okay, the first. Never forget your first. Also, he's a speaker, teacher, author. He does all kinds of stuff, trying to help with the LGBTQ youth. I'm gonna add the IA plus 2 in there, queer youth. And he's also a curator. He's done all kinds of things there too. But for me, of his many, many books, A Quilt for David is my favorites. He knows that. We had a great talk about that on this show, but when I was at my house. He also had a book release party, which I just put out. You saw sort of video out there, put that out for you guys to see. I was there. I got to hug him before he went on. But it was packed, folks. It was packed full of folks. People I knew, people I didn't know. It was kind of fun. His book is called Outliving Michael. And we're going to read some passages from it and get to know him and why he wrote this book, which to me is a love letter to gay friendship. Help me welcome, and he's cute too. Help me welcome Stephen Rains.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be back and talking with you.
Yes, we always have a good time. Always ask first, how you doing?
Doing great. It's you're such an astute reader, and I appreciate the conversation we had about A Quilt for David. And I was so excited to see you at the book event.
Yes.
And it was also I forgot something out of my car. I was going to my car to get it, and I ran into you before the event started. So that was a really nice intro for my day.
Oh, thank you. Because we got sent to the back, and I'm like, there's a back part of Book Soup? I had no idea. Book Soup's is great bookstore in West. Well, it's on Sunset. It's West Hollywood, Sunset. But I know it was a back. So I'm like, where am I going? And then I see you coming out from the back. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm in the right place. So I gave him a hug, and then we went, and then I got to go in. But it was packed. So congratulations. People came.
Thank you. Yeah, so many people came out for it. The last time I saw Book Soup that packed was when Patti Smith was doing a signing, and I thought, okay, that's good. You know, it's
good company, Patti Smith. I think it's great. I think it's great company. Okay, so before we get into the book, I did bring up you had a milestone birthday this year. So welcome to my decade, as I'm almost leaving it. This book seems to come out at the right time, it seems like, right? Is that a coincidence or not?
Oh, in some ways it is a coincidence, but in other ways it's not. I like how you said that this book is about friendship. And I think that for queer people, friendships sometimes hold more meaning because, they're our family of choice. And Michael, the subject of the book, was 17 years older than I was and significantly wiser. And I was, such a sponge to, I modeled a lot of my life after him. I didn't know how to live as a gay man, how to live as an artist, how to live as an outsider, how to live, I guess people would now say, like, in one's truth and just being authentic in who you are. And that's what he was doing. So, a lot of our friendship was me kind of observing and, just being in the company of that. At one point in time, there's even a poem in the book where, I'm shopping and I'm trying on shoes, and I think about Michael, and I recognize that I've outlived him, that the person who helped me create a roadmap is no longer there. And, how does one navigate their lives when they've outlived their role models?
So funny you say that. So I want to mention somebody. For me, my friend Tim Dolan, who I outlived, reading this made me go back to my journals of that time period. And he taught me how to carry myself as a gay black man in the world. And this was the late 80s, early 90s. And he was a good example. But your book I think if anybody reads this and had a friendship like that back in the day, and they've passed on, it'll remind you of maybe your mentor or just somebody you just hung out with it a lot that was a little older than you were, because he was older than I was too. And so your book totally. And so this is what I wrote. This is my review of your book. It's a love letter of friendship. It's snapshots. It's before and after. It's now and then.
Hmm.
That's what I got out of this book.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And even mentioning your friend Tim, that this is, though it's a book about Michael, I feel like there's so many universals in terms of acknowledging friendship, especially young friendship, which can be meaningful,
Yes.
and the loss of a friend and their place and influence in our lives. And I think that, I had a Michael, you had a Tim, and so many other people out there had their own.
Michaels and Tims.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what it is. So I'm going to read one of my favorites. This is towards the beginning. This is actually the first one in the book, but I love it. It says, it just makes me, I just love it because it's, hope I can do you justice. His father did the books for Steve Rubell, got Michael a job as a bottle boy at Studio 54. Michael said, I probably picked up 3 bottles that entire summer. He spent most work hours on the dance floor. I smile thinking of him, strawberry-haired, sweating, in a white t-shirt, bar rag in his low-slung jeans, bottle of poppers in his pocket as he danced. AIDS was already in the room, but not in his body, and no one knew anything anyway. There was just dancing, sweating, sex, drugs, and disco. That whole poem itself just gives me a whole time period. Takes me back. Just reading that, I was like, the poignance of that part of it, the AIDS was not his body yet, and no one knew anything anyway. Like, it was just, when you think back in hindsight now, just all my friends who passed. I don't even know. I mean, I don't know if you've done this. I have friends who can tell me, I've lost 400 miles. I have never sat and counted. I've lost too many to even count how many I've actually lost. So I was just, but it reminded me of all those folks. And I used to go out and dance all the time. Oh my God, I was young and tender. And I was out there I had my long hair and I was working it out. I still got long hair now. I had a good time, but that's a generation right there, Stephen.
Oh yeah, and it's what that generation did. And we have lost a generation due to AIDS. And that people discuss and we talk about, and it significantly impacted our culture and the arts. I think it also impacted the people that came after that, the generation after that. Like, where are our mentors?
Where are our friends, though?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is when I talk about gay friendship. I just know for me, we had a circle because we kind of had to hold it. There was no social media. There was no internet. There was no apps. I know I sound like one of those old people, but it wasn't. But it was just kind of like we found our tribes and we clung on to them because some of them were gone, were dying.
Yeah. Well, also, it was always important to me that my friends were smarter than I was. And, there wasn't Google where you could look things up. And, so to be friends with people who were wise and had life experiences, like, these were the people that we learned from. And that's why those older friendships were so meaningful. Those were the people that held our hand and helped us navigate through the world.
I always thought you should do that. I have younger friends in my life, and I try to be that for them. It's like, I thought it's a rite of passage, right? You meet some folks who are a little older, and they're like your surrogate mothers and fathers or big brothers or uncles, right? That's the point, right?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the great things about my friendship with Michael is that we never had sex. And I'm grateful for that because I think had we had sex, I might have trusted the connection a little less or thought there was an ulterior motive. And I think a lot of the times, especially me, I'll just talk about myself at that time. Like, I needed a friend. I didn't need another sex partner. I had plenty of those.
Okay.
But what I needed was someone to really see me and appreciate me and give me time, attention, and energy. And that's what I got from Michael.
I know we're similar. Yeah. I was the same way. I wanted friends because I had left home and I wasn't around my family anymore. So I was looking for family. I really was. And same with Tim. We never had sex. He just was I just looked up to him. I mean, it wasn't because I know in our world, especially back then, this is no shade to anything, but many people became friends and family because they had sex first. Very common thing back then. It still probably still happens now, but then it morphed into something else. And a lot of my straight friends understand that. Like, no, it's not the same as what you guys do. It's like sometimes that's just the culture.
Yeah, the gay handshake. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. Because I couldn't remember. Cause I had one. I lived with I guess he was an ex, but he's more like my brother at this point. But we lived together like 14 years, off and on. But we had dated for a year and a half when we first met. But we moved to San Francisco together, and we each had our own part. We weren't. I kept saying, I don't see him the same way anymore. Like, and that's we can do that.
Yeah.
And build a friendship or a kinship or a familyship with somebody, just that we met this particular way. And for me, it was on a personals ad. Were those a back of a gay newspaper?
Well, that's it too. Like when we talk about that time, communication, like you said, like a personal ad, or to schedule time with someone, you had to leave messages on each other's voicemail, on their answering machines. Not
it's not voicemail, answer machine.
Yeah.
That's right.
On an answering machine, or you would be out and you would go to a payphone and you would call in to listen to your messages. And that's how things were coordinated. So the people you spent time with, it took quite a bit of effort, and it was purposeful.
How'd you meet Michael?
I met Michael through a group of friends. Before I met him, I even heard his name. It was living in Naples, Florida. It's a small town, and he had a drag persona by the name of Blanche. So I heard Blanche's name before him. The first time that we hung out one-on-one was at the bar. I had a fake ID, so that's how I was in there.
Don't try this at home. Right.
And he, though, just kind of in the middle of us hanging out, he had said to me, he said, you're cute. Make sure he said, I remember he did this. You're cute. Just make sure you can back it up.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And I remember, I was pretty confident. I was like, yeah, I think I can. But actually, though, it was, and then he talked about how younger gay men rely on their looks and they don't cultivate anything else in their life, that they're getting attention for being young and pretty, and that doesn't last forever. And so what else are you going to bring to the table? That, and I had even witnessed that already in my life, of these men who just kind of didn't have as much going on.
Nope.
So that was one thing where I thought, like, oh, this is someone looking out for me.
I like that. I do. I like that. I want you to read a passage, a poem now.
Sure.
Please. Yeah, put those spectacles on. You know how it is.
What is the title, or what is it about?
What?
Which poem?
Whichever one you want. Whichever one. You pick one. You choose one.
Oh.
I'm gonna let you choose. I'm gonna let you choose.
This is hard.
I was gonna pick one out for you. I said, no, I'm gonna let him. Let's really pick one out for you. I can.
Okay. This is a poem about okay. And only 2 of the poems in the book are titled, so this poem is one of the untitled titled poems. I could tell from our conversations, Michael's mind was slipping. Before our Sunday morning call, I hooked up a recording device I bought at Radio Shack. I wanted to preserve as much of Michael as I could. I've only listened to that tape once. Besides its high-pitched squeal or my nervous laugh, forced good cheer, inane comments, I fear I wasn't giving a dying man what he needed. There were so many things I wanted to say, but didn't know how. When my grandmother was dying, I walked into her hospice room and shared my memories of how I felt loved by her, how she made me laugh, that my life was better because of her, that I would miss her, and that in big moments of my life, I would think of her. I told her the things I wish I said to Michael.
And I like that. How it's also, your grandmother. I mean, how it's all intertwined. Every experience reminds you of another experience.
Yes. Yeah.
right? Seeing Michael get sick, how was that for you?
It was incredibly painful. He was suffering from dementia.
Okay.
And so it was a slow losing of him. It's
Yeah.
that kind of that long extended goodbye.
Yeah.
He was still quite sharp and witty, but his demeanor, uh he wasn't as things would frustrate him easily, and he would hold on to grudges. And somehow, fortunately, I was never the recipient of that.
Oh, thank God.
So, yeah, and I think that made it easier for me as opposed to some of the other people in his life that there were arguments or disagreements, and it was really difficult for his mom. At one point in time, his mom and I were talking outside of Michael, and I was coming down to visit to essentially take care of him, but that's not what we were telling Michael. It was that I was there for an extended visit.
Okay.
So it would help him go to doctor's appointments, help
yeah.
make sure.
Okay.
So it was really hard, and I was also really young, and I was probably a mid caregiver at best, and I regret I wasn't better at it, but how would I have known to be that kind of a caregiver, which is, by the way, this position I was in isn't unique to me. So many people have felt this way in the past, but this is my experience.
Now, was he you mentioned your grandmother, though, other than that, in friend circles, was this your major first friend death, or did you have others that were equally as?
I had others. There is something about that grandmother poem, just recognizing that, that you have friends dying before your grandmother dies.
Right. It's so, not natural.
Yeah. And I had a lover, Italo Renault, there's a poem mentioning him that died, not while we were together, just after we broke up. And I, in the poem, I don't tell Michael about it. Would you like me to read that poem?
Please.
Okay,
Please. Yes. Love it, love it, love it. Yes. They said these are like little snapshots. I love it.
I like how you said that because it does really feel that way, actually.
It does.
Like these kind of quick moments that compile,
Because the way you structure the book is very interesting. And this show is in between the pages. I thought it's not a straight up just poetry book. It's a storybook.
Yeah, thank you. Let me see if I could find this.
Trying to find the kids.
Yeah, sorry.
That's something else. So
is this something that will be edited out later, or is this just a long, awkward pause for people?
Yeah. We can always edit things out.
All right, perfect. Okay.
This is called impromptu. It's almost like live, folks. This is like almost like live television.
I don't know if I could find it that quickly.
Well, but the thing is, when we have conversations, you bring something. It's like that's a great thing that they bring up. That you had somebody who passed, and it's reminding. I mean, it's just as a whole. You don't tell Michael about it, and things we do for our friends. The things we do.
I'm sorry.
You'll find it when we're done.
Of course I will.
You're driving home. You're like, oh my God, it's page 55.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, James. Oh, here.
You got it.
Yes. I dated Italo Renault before meeting Michael. Our passionate affair involved. I dated Italo Renault before meeting Michael. Our passionate affair involved writing letters, lots of fucking, and only one argument about trust. That was big enough to kill the romance, but not the friendship. We talked on the phone, gave book recommendations. When he didn't return my call, I assumed he was busy. Then one day, his line was disconnected. I called the salon where he worked, and a voice on the other end said Italo had died and gave me his mother's number. Renee was as sweet as Italo said she was. He had been sick, gone to the emergency room. They sent him home, said the fever would pass. He died alone in his bed at the age of 26 and was found 2 days later. I barely kept my composure on the phone. And though he was my best friend, I never said anything to Michael. What I wanted to do was warn him about the things he already knew, that this virus was a killer, that he should be cautious, and that the very medical professionals we wanted to trust, we shouldn't.
I was out there protesting, so yes, I know you shouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean that every time you read a passage, or I'm taken right back. That time period, where you couldn't trust your medical professionals, and these vibrant young men were just not vibrant anymore.
Yeah.
I just we lived through it. I can't believe we lived through it, and by the grace of whatever, I never became positive, and I didn't. I don't know why me. I mean, I wasn't as safe as I could be. I wasn't always perfect at all. No, I don't claim to be, right? It's just that we all were living our lives, freely, and then this disease came in.
Well, yeah, and also that just even hearing you say that, like that incredible shame we had the times that we didn't, we weren't as safe as we could have been, and to say that, and there were such like terrible messaging out there. It was a really difficult time, and especially for a community that was undervalued, under attack.
They had to do it on their own.
Yeah,
I was part of Active Sacramento at one point when I was there. I worked with the SFA's Foundation. I was a big activist in San Francisco, always working on the medical side of things. And I just remember, as I said, reading these things, it just takes me back to the time of where I kind of got both sides of it on some level, because we were trying to save lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's not perfect. And there's, some things are a little extreme on some end. And then we were closing the bathhouses down, and we had sex clubs popping up in the 90s. I was all part of all that stuff. But I understood. I mean, it was, I get where some of the people were scared. I mean, let's just bring it down to brass tacks. People were scared.
And uninformed and undereducated, because the information wasn't there. So yeah, it's in some ways, I'm so proud of queer people, though.
Yes.
We're such a resilient bunch, aren't we? and to do it with such flair and personality,
yes.
and just talk about a group of survivors and people who thrive under all circumstances. And right now feels really scary, but I have a lot of faith in our community.
Yes. I mean, I remember when COVID started, we're like, oh, we've been through this before. Gay folks were like, oh yeah, we know something we know how a pandemic's happening, there's a virus going through. Like, oh, we know that. That looks familiar. And I had to chuckle at that at first. It was kind of like, not making light of COVID, but just saying we had to chuckle at that, kind of going, yeah, we've been through something like this before. Mm-hmm. But now it's mainstream. Let's get the air quotes everywhere. So now we should all be worried. But we were worried back when it wasn't mainstream.
Yeah.
We're used to that. When you think of Michael now, where is he in your life?
That's such a good question. I mean, in some ways, he's still very present in my life, because I think about him often, because he touched me so deeply. And also, I spent years writing this book and living with memories of Michael, and ways of telling the story of Michael's life and his impact on my own life. Where is he now? He's still very sweet and very dear to me.
I like that.
Also, one thing that I didn't expect is the book coming out, and that his relatives, his brothers, his nephews are reaching out to me. And I know, and
that's great.
I know, it's so touching, and they're sending me sweet messages. And his brother even is mailing me a large image of Michael that was because Michael was a performer, so it's a photo of Michael on stage, and I remember this photo in Michael's bedroom. So it's I'm so touched, and I'm glad that I was able to, create a portrait of someone that they love as well, and so though this book is hopefully meaningful to people outside of who knew Michael, it's so meaningful that it has their stamp of approval.
So you can't even get better than that at all.
Thank you. Also, I love that I get to introduce Michael to so many people.
I was going to say, that's my next thing. That's my next thing. That's my next question is like, what? So this is, pieces of Michael in a book. But so what was the message you were trying to get out to people about him? That's my
Oh,
question.
I think really this is someone who was important. This is someone who was loved and who deeply loved me and had an impact on my life. And I also think there are a lot of dynamics that people can relate to
Yes, you
about,
can. Yes.
yeah, people in their own lives. It's sometimes a touchy subject to write about the people in our lives
Yes.
and
Yes.
create artwork around them. And if they're around, we can ask their permission.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that with Michael. What I did find, and it was actually during the pandemic when, we had nothing to do but organize our
Okay.
everything at our home.
Oh, yeah.
I was going through and I keep a lot of the letters that people have sent me. And so I decided to start organizing them alphabetically.
Very good. I like that.
And I encountered a note Michael wrote me when I was taking care of him. His sleep schedule was erratic. He was up late at night. And I woke up in the morning to find a note. He had seen some poets on television and suggested I check out their work. And on the other side of the piece of paper, he wrote, I have 2 subjects for you to write about. Me, of course, and me.
Yes. That's in the book. It's in the book, folks. That's the first page, isn't it? So is that his handwriting? Is that the actual
That is
notes?
Michael's handwriting.
Oh my God, how
Yes.
fun. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Yes. So I recognize that. I was like, I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, and so for me, it was this lovely permission to just
Folks,
keep going.
It's that's actual notes.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that. It tells you about his person. It tells you about his personality right there. Just reading that. It's always like,
Yes.
it's enough about me. It's about you. What do you think about me? You know, the famous thing from Beaches. I think that's just hilarious. That's him. You get 2 subjects right about me.
Yeah.
Like that.
And he even, so that poem I read about my grandmother in the recording, for the audiobook, I thought, in this book, people encounter Michael's image on the cover,
Yes.
as well as on the inside of the book. And I thought it would be really nice for people to hear Michael's voice.
Wait a minute. So is the audio out?
Yeah, the audiobook is
Okay,
out.
I got to listen. I want to listen to that now. Now I want to listen to that. So you included that in there. Oh, that's great.
So yeah, excerpts from that recording are in the audiobook. And I love that people can hear Michael and how quick he was,
Yeah, his own
and just
words.
the turns of phrases. It's so nice that and people are like, oh, how would Michael have felt? I was like, Michael loved an audience.
Oh, I'm sure.
He would have loved this, like that we're here talking about him like this. Oh, he would have been happy. Yeah.
Why? Well, I told my brother, publish my journals. I don't care. I like being a star. Just read everything. I don't care. He always laughs. But that's the thing. So that's guys listen. I want to listen to audiobook. I want to hear that. But when you were choosing actual material, you say you were trying for years.
Mm-hmm.
How has it morphed into this? Like I said, it's like little story, because you are a poet, but you're also a writer. You've written books, but you're also a poet. But the style is kind of poetry, but it's like stories. So how did you come to that?
Well, poetry is the language of our emotions.
Right.
And so it was important for me to convey something emotionally in it, which is more important than biographical details. But I did want those details to be accurate. Do I need to do that again?
Yeah, wait, do it again.
Okay. What was your question?
Oh my God, I'm so old, I can't remember anymore. I know. And then the creation.
Details.
Oh, yeah, details. Thank
Okay.
you. I know it's hard. It's like
What was I saying? I forgot where I was going. That was more what it was, which you can't answer.
We'll just start over. Just start over.
What was the question?
Okay, so I'll do another question. Again. All right, so in the creation of this book, when you first started, because you've been writing for years, poetry is your style, but it's actually short stories, like little short stories. So how'd you come to that style? And you were talking once before about how poetry is our language of a lot of stuff.
I want my work to be accessible. I do not appreciate poems that are riddles or, a reader feels like they need to solve it. What I want is the reader to have this emotional experience and to feel something and to be moved and or motivated. And, hearing you say that, it's the biggest compliment. That's what I'm aiming to do with my work.
Oh, it is. I mean, it literally is. But I noticed that there's a through line, and maybe because we are getting to our golden years, but we still look good, though. Don't worry that. Look good. He looks good. He has no wrinkles. But the last couple of books, a quote for David in this, totally take you back in time to a time period that I don't want us to forget about, because the younger generations just have no connection to it. And on some level, I get why they don't, but it's like it's still part of our history and theirs too. Um, so how are you doing with all this emotional stuff you've done? These last couple of books have been kind of emotional.
Yeah, thank you. And the book in between, the chapbook in between, is For the Love of Peter Hujar, which is about the photographer Peter Hujar who
Yeah.
died of AIDS. And it's interesting to me as well that it's, the subject has, taken up so much of my life.
Mhm.
And I'm also okay with it.
Okay.
There's something, I trust the page. And
Ooh.
in writing is where I work things out. I don't, one of the things about writing this book is trying to figure it out or trying to make sense of something difficult. And that's what my writing has always offered me. And it's why I'm so invested. And I want to get the experience. I'm looking for insight. I'm looking for, to describe something in detail where I accurately pinpoint what it is, what the experience was like for me. So in that way, I am such a hard worker and so focused. And so it's just really what's held my fascination and also what I'm trying to make sense of.
Trying to make sense of. Okay, I like that. I can understand that. I'm a recording artist. I have a couple albums out right now, and they're very 80s. I know for me, I'm working out. Those were some really memorable, wonderful times for me because I was young and I didn't know a lot of stuff, and everything hadn't happened yet. And right now, I'm going through a lot of, I have an aging parent. I have, I have a lot going on. I'm running a business, and I got other stuff going on. And I'm like, those were simpler times, and so I know it's coming out in my creative space. So I'm wondering for you, is that something similar to like you're going back in time, so to speak, but because today things are kind of weird. I don't know these days.
Yeah. I think maybe in some way it was, those experiences like, what was that?
Yeah.
And I think just being in survival mode, it's hard to process all of it at the
Yes.
time because we're just just trying to get by.
Yes.
And, in a lot of ways, I think that's, what was going on.
Yeah, someone asked me, how did you get the time? I go, because I said, you just did. First of all, you just do it. It was life. It was part of our lives. It may not be what's part of your life now, but it was part of our lives. And you still were striving to have a life. I still wanted to fall in love. I still had to work at jobs. I still wanted friends. I still wanted to go party. I mean, there were things I still wanted to do in the middle of this through line that was happening. You could just stop living. I mean, I'm sure people did. Well, you just couldn't stop just living and be afraid the whole time, right? You just couldn't do that.
And it's living with that complexity. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't just stop. Because in life, there's something always going on. So you can't just stop and go, I can't live it. I'll wait till it's done. You can't do that.
I have a poem in the book that after Michael died, I started working for an HIV organization, and I was doing testing and counseling, and I was in that field for years. And so many friends were concerned about me because it was consuming so much of my life and my time. But, I would tell them it was kind of like hurricanes in Florida, that the safest place was in the calmest place was in the center of the storm.
Yes.
And for me, I think that's, one way I've lived my life, but that's how I was living my life then. I just felt like to just jump in the very middle of it and be there, that felt really calm. At least it felt like I was doing something. I was putting positive effort towards the good.
Was anything, when you were going over stuff and as you were writing this for several years, is there anything you just kept for yourself about you and Michael that you did not put in the book?
That is a great question.
Because being transparent is great and all, but sometimes you're thinking, they're just things I want to keep for myself that I don't want to share. Or you're like, I want to share everything. I'm going to share it all, and there you go.
There are things that, if I were a true researcher, I would have listened to that audio recording again and written poems about some of the things we talked about, or maybe tried to write poems about it. But instead, I listened to the audio recording only right before recording the audiobook. That poem where I said I only listened to it once was true. And listening to it again, I was reminded of so many things between the two of us. And
Okay.
here in this one conversation where Michael is telling me about a doctor's diagnosis and talking about some frustrations he had with friends, then the conversation goes on to the where we start talking about mid-century furniture. We start talking like it's one of those
Okay.
things like when you
Yes.
talk about like holding complexity, and I mean there's
Yes.
something about that that's so gay and
Yes.
so us.
Ordinary and
Yeah.
so ordinary, right? Just
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
We were talking like because he came to visit me and he really loved how I decorated my
Okay.
apartment. So we talked about it like so just that thing, like he's dying, but we're also talking
Yes.
about furniture.
Yes. I like that.
There are things like that that just didn't make it into the book because
Yeah.
I didn't recall.
Yeah.
And I do want to encourage people like you keep a journal, to keep journals or hold on to photographs and do as much as you can to
Yeah.
back them up.
Yeah.
And I like holding on to letters. What's interesting is I did not look through my journals before, for anything for this book. I felt like what I remembered was enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a choice.
Yeah.
That's a choice. I want to read another poem.
Sure.
Some time still. This is my other poem I like of his. Oh, this is why I like this one. This gives me his personality also. I was to be on the cover of a magazine, and the editor emailed questions. When Michael called, I read him my replies. He was quiet, and then he told me to answer more thoughtfully. Respond as if your soulmate will read it. I scrapped every word. I wrote as if my answers were a beacon and that magazine the lighthouse. I called Michael the next day, read him my new answers, and I could feel his smile through the phone. There you go. I still take his advice. Think of that unknown, unnamed man I'm to love forever and who would love me forever. Sometimes I think of Michael as my perfect audience, ear pressed to the receiver, waiting to hear every word, believing greatness was in me. And if my words met his expectations for me, he would reply, there you go. I actually cried when I read that one. One of my favorites. Because it's here and now. That's what I said earlier. It's past and present. He was giving you advice. You were answering probably cutesy and whatever, and you think it's a magazine. I'm going to answer these cutesy questions. And he's like saying no. But the fact that he said, as if your soulmate is going to read it, he's saying, go deep.
Yeah, I know. And that's that was
One of my
very
favorites.
similar to the advice, that someone's just looking out for me.
Yeah.
And I think my answers were so like, my initial answers were so like shallow and superficial.
Well, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think how fortunate was I to have this man as a friend.
He was honest with you, just like, come
Yes.
on. Your friends like, come on, girl. That's not going to cut it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And actually that was one of the gifts about Michael. He, could be quite self-involved.
I'm sure.
But yet when he gave to you, it was like an unrefracted beam of light, that it was like there was nothing for anyone. He gave so purely that it was unlike anything I had ever experienced. And that's one of those examples of when he did that. And, it was one of the first times I was in print, and it was just such great advice, and I'm glad that I have that record of him and his input. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's, some of the bigger personalities, I can be called that many times. We do have an ocean of deepness in us. We may not show it all the time. We may not give it to you every day, but when you need it, we provide.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking as I think back my friends who were drag queens back and they're no longer with us back in the day, and they were just so theatrical and so, oh my God, and one-liners every 5 minutes. But when the chips were down or something was needed, they came through with the best advice. You know what I mean? It's like people are three-dimensional human beings. Your book tells us that basically. We're all just one thing. It's like we're all several things.
Thank you. Yeah, and even myself too, like it wasn't I even say some uncomfortable things about myself in the book and who I was at that time, and Times I felt a little resentful about some of the things that Michael did. And it's, because that's part of it too. I think one of the greatest things we can do and feel is to feel loved wholly by someone. That when someone recognizes and, like the fullness of who we are. And I think that is incredibly loving, is that,
Yeah.
those friends and lovers and family members who totally understand your faults, and yet they're still there offering support and love and encouragement.
I think the thing we have to realize too is just, that's just age, getting older. Hopefully, not everybody does, but hopefully you're getting more comfortable in your skin, because looking inward is one of the hardest things you can do. It is not easy. People think you can look inward and say, I just like talking. But to admit things about yourself, it's really hard. But I think when you get older, you start just living, yeah, I'm this way. Yeah, I'm that way. Yeah, I do this. It gets a little easier. And I think that's probably why you could write stuff about yourself in this book that may not be a little unflattering to admit, yeah, I was a little petty at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Or I was a snot. I was like, who was that? I have a few times, I have a few of those. I actually got to make amends with somebody recently that I had kind of did wrong 30 years ago. It was kind of crazy. It presented itself, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to admit that I did wrong, and you and I both know I did wrong, and it's all fine. We're great now.
Oh, and it's never too late to apologize for something or take responsibility. Yeah. And I also think it's okay to apologize more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also,
I like that
you know what you know. You only know what you know what you know what you know, right? I'm 25 years old. I think I know everything probably at the time, but you don't. You think so at 30. You think so at 35. You are who you are up to that point, right? And you can be book smart and I got degrees too. I got letters after my name. But in life, you can still be naive or petty or sad or not as supportive. You can make mistakes. That's just how humans are built. And you can always learn from it if you do it right. So that's how I look at it as. So as you're outliving Michael, what is your message to others who've outlived their Michaels?
I wonder if I do have a message directly, as much as I'm in hopes that by my sharing my experiences, it normalizes theirs. And that this is something, like you said, it's a book about friendship. And that's so important for us to talk about the values of the value of friendship. Also about losing a friend. And it's a very different kind of loss. It's one thing to be married to someone and lose a husband or a wife. It's another thing to lose a friend, and how impactful that is.
Well, I always say friendships, in many cases, are the strongest of the relationships outside of parent-child, outside of lovers, outside of spouses, outside of siblings, because you choose each other.
Yes.
That's what's so interesting, right? And I've had friend breakups that were, I'm on the floor sobbing, hurt for years later. And I've had a breakup with somebody I was with. I'm like, I'm done after a while. Like friendships, I think, are undervalued in terms of how their importance.
Yes. Yeah. And also, we're in this, like, how many friends or how many followers you have.
Yes.
That's different than a friend, like a true friend. Yeah.
Who can you call at 2 a.m?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. And just say, oh my God, I can't sleep. Or I'm in a dark spot. Can you just talk to me?
Yeah, or that, hey, I'm feeling really lonely right now, or, oh, I need some company, or, oh, I need your help as I try to work through this. Like, those are true friends.
Yes.
There was something I heard recently that being a good friend also means inconveniencing yourself. And the people who complain they don't have friends, those are the people who don't inconvenience themselves. And I think that's true.
I like that. And on that note, the book is Outliving Michael. And Stephen, can you tell people where they can find you and all your work?
Thank you. Yeah, people can find out about me at StephenRains.com, Stephen with a V, Rains, REIGNS. And the book is sold. You can pick it up anywhere at your local bookstore or order it. The audiobook is exclusively on Amazon.
So I'm gonna go. I gotta totally listen to it. I always like end this show with the importance of books, the importance of indie authors, the importance of, we don't ban books. We don't like that here in our channel. And that books aren't going anywhere. Whether it's Audible, whether it's Kindle, whether it's physical copies, people are reading more than ever. And I believe there's so many things you can get from reading books. So I will always support that. I want books in schools. I want books outside of schools. Libraries need to stay open. I'm a big proponent of library. I got a library card. Use all the time. They also have online. You can use a library card online. It's what they call Libby. Go there. All kind of stuff. Just that it's reading. It's not about being just like, I'm a smart person, I read. It's just because you can take you places you've never been before, and expose you to things you've never seen or heard. That's always a wonderful, wonderful thing. That's what we do here on In Between the Pages with James Lott Jr. We're on Facebook. I'm where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold at James Lott Jr. I'm expensive. On all social media platforms, I am. Not easy. Including TikTok. And JLJ Media is everywhere also. Thank you for joining me, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you to you Podcaster Studios here in Hollywood. I'll give you information on that too, on the description. So if you want to come down here and do some filming, do it. Tell them James sent you. We'll see you next time.